Well,
Hello.
good, good. Look like you're doing great. You're smiling. I love that. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. And again, I will allow the other people. It looks like we have 23 people registered. So either they're going to pop into this webinar or they're going to catch the playback for those who have registered. I want to welcome everybody to the second Small Business Roundtable discussion. This is definitely going to be exciting because this time around I get to do it virtually and I get to be small, right? So I get to be a little cool. So I am just really excited to be doing these webinars again. Before the pandemic occurred, I actually was doing this in my office and it was really, really nice. The room was jam-packed. And so I really, really love these discussion sessions. So this is a small group. If you feel like you want to ask a question, just please go ahead and just unmute yourself and just ask a question. It's perfectly fine. This is a very informal discussion and it's really built to raise your awareness about what's going on here and to learn something new that can help your business. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself for those who may not know who I am. My name is Ann Austin, and I'm the CEO and founder of this organization, Austin Tech. And I've been doing consulting for business for about 24 years, starting way back in like 97, doing IT, desktop publishing, career consulting as I went along. And it sort of manifested into other types of consulting because I realized that I was a small business helping other businesses. And I said, you know what? That's an aha moment. Let me go ahead and create a business for that. And throughout my journey, I absolutely love what I do, working with people to help them with their careers and their business. And so with that, I've actually launched several programs specifically for minority-owned businesses or any business that really needs this type of information. And I've also partnered, as you can see on the screen, with a number of businesses who either I have went there and taught a course or did training, or maybe they were a client of mine or something like that. And these are sort of one of the recent ones. And I do have a new one that I need to add to this list, and that's Women Offering Wealth, where I just did a webinar on Sunday. And also the signature 10-week small business program, which is a program designed especially for minority businesses and for very, very small businesses that need help with startup assistance in every sense of the word. So just want to kind of put that out there so people can get that information. So what exactly does Austin Tech do? Well, we pretty much make sure that every business owner know everything there is to know about starting and sustaining a business, from the time that you start up to certifications that you need to just learning how to just deal with life as a business owner. We tackle some of those topics because we want you to be long lasting. We want you to be sustainable. We don't want you to fail. We want you to succeed. And at the bottom left here of the screen, this is sort of our core services. So please feel free to, go to my website, check us out. You can also sign up as a free member so that you can get access to these type of information sessions. And then we also have other services if you want to, deep dive and help with your business specifically. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about key steps to an SBA and DBE certification. This is one of the ones that the government put out free training for, but sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle with all of the other information out there. So I would love to share with everybody my view on how this is. Maybe some of the things you may not have known about in terms of certification. Maybe you didn't know about some of the order in which you need to go about doing your certification. That seems to be the biggest thing there. And so tonight we're going to talk about that. And if anyone wants to join in and talk about what their situation is that can help them, then, that's pretty good, right? So let's just get right on to it. So why do we need a certification in the first place? Why do people even need it at all? What is the purpose? What's the value of having a certification? Well, the first and foremost is if you are planning to do business with the government, if you are planning to sell anything to the government, really, you need to have a certification or at least be certified as least at minimum, a government vendor. You can pretty much do this by going to sam.gov and signing up as a vendor, and you go through all of the other requirements that's required to have that that notoriety of being logged into sam.gov. If you're not familiar with sam.gov, it is the Systems Award Management System where the government actually makes sure and track your validation as a business and certain type of business, and also to track the awards that you receive for your business, okay? Now, for certification purposes, it is really businesses that have a product to sell to the government, and if the government can validate whether or not that product is eligible to buy, okay? So there's a twofold thing. So first, you want to sell something to the government, and then the government needs to validate whether or not that product or service you have is worth buying. Do they have a surplus for it? Do they have budget for it? Can they actually track that service and actually call you a prime contractor or subcontractor? So everything is pretty much tracked from the time that you bid on the contract to award the contract, and then tracking that contract and reporting on that contract. They are literally tracking it through their own procurement mechanism. And so they want to make sure that what they purchase from you is eligible to buy. So those are some of the reasons why, the two main reasons why you would need to have certain certifications. We're going to focus on 3 of them tonight, but at a minimum, you can actually go to sam.gov and just sign up, and then you can go to your local state. Now, so for the SBA Woman-Owned Certification and the MBE, I actually have both of those. It took me about 6 to 8 months to go through the entire process. A couple of months I took to gather the information, to research what I needed. And then it took that long just because of the process itself. And I'm gonna tell you, I made lots of mistakes. I didn't realize what I was doing. And I ended up having to figure out which order that I had to do it in order to be effective, because I kept going back and making changes, and it just took so much of my time. I felt very exhausted, right? So I figured, why don't we just put this course together to kind of teach you what you need to do? So the first understanding I think people need to know is that for the SBA Woman-Owned Certification and the EDWOSB specifically, is not to certify you that you are a business, even though they're asking that question. They're actually certifying you to make sure that you have a fair competition in the contract realm, specifically for women-owned certified and set-aside contracts, okay? They have contracts set aside for women, and we're going to talk about that very, very deeply about that. It's not a whole lot in terms of percentage, but they know that women are at a disadvantage in terms of business, in terms of income, in terms of just getting a prime contract opportunity. So it's really for women to have that opportunity to be able to get their foot in the door to bigger and better things in terms of contracting. It is very difficult these days to get a contract, specifically if there isn't one out there and you need to partner with another organization. So with getting a woman-owned certification, you first are certifying that you have the eligibility to be able to bid on certain contracts. And then there's other SBA programs that will allow you to have a prime contractor come in and have you as a mentor. And when you go out to the SBA website, you'll notice they have a mentor protege program. And I'll talk a little bit about that. For the MBE, the Minority Business Enterprise and the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, is really just to make sure that you have the eligibility to bid on certain contracts that have a minority contracting goal. And I'm going to talk about that because it's also based on percentage, based on the contract amount, and it could be any contract. And I'm going to be talking specifically about Maryland, but in your state, it could be different. So whatever state that you're in, whoever will watch this playback, and let me let some people in, and whoever is watching this playback, and I think I got one more person in the room here. Okay, let me just make sure I get everybody in here. Welcome, welcome. You want to make sure that as a minority that you do not leave money on the table. Okay, if there are contracts out there where you can start off as a subcontractor and you meet that minority business goal, you should be able to compete for that contract and be able to get it, okay? But if you are not having the certifications, if you don't have certain things in place, they will award that contract to someone else who is ready. So this whole webinar is about being ready. Okay, let's be ready. So I see some people are excited, smiling. Hey, Terrence, haven't seen you in a minute. How you doing? All right, let's keep it going. Okay, so let's talk about women-owned certification. If you are a legalized business, if you're an LLC or even a sole proprietor, and 51% is ownership of the woman, of course, you can actually self-certify as a woman-owned business, okay? You can do this on their website. They actually just revamped their website to make changes, which I'm going to talk about. And for the most part, you can bid on any contract that's out there. However, if there are set aside for women, which are most of the time is like less than 5%, 5% or less. And I think they're working on increasing these numbers because they know that there are more women out there that is falling into this bucket where they really can compete with the big dogs, you know what I mean? And so I think that they're going to be increasing this as more women are really prepared for this. And I think that 5% also is because there's a lot of women owners out there who probably have this certification, but are not ready for the big time. They're not ready for contracting at all. Either they have to get stuff together or they don't have the product quite right. They don't, I have it because I know that there are other local and state opportunities, not so much federal, but for those who have like cleaning businesses, like Terrence have a, painting business or health benefits, if you're serving those type of things, you want to be able to have all your ducks in a row so that when the opportunity comes, you're not scrambling around trying to, I got to go and get this certification, right? So you want to make sure that you can qualify for that 5% that comes out. I think what I should have put on this slide was that you can go to fedbizops.gov. There's also the grants.gov. Also, you have Emma, which we're also going to talk about Emma, where you need to go for the state and local, because you can go state, local, and federal, and you can even go by county to get some of these grants. So some of this work is going to involve you having someone to just look through these contracts all the time. If you're not actively looking, they can literally pass you by really quickly. They do not make it known that there are contracts out there. And one thing about SBA is that they put the certification out there, but they do not give you any advice about where contracts are or who you need to contact for contracts. You actually need to go to your local procurement office, or maybe on a higher level of the state. Each state or city have their own procurement office. So you can actually sign up with them, and then you can set up alerts to get those, those RFPs sent to you in an email, okay? And again, if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to just jump in, okay? So the SBA has 4 major programs that I'm gonna talk about tonight. They actually have 2 or 3 others, but they're more on a higher level and more dealing with a neighborhood or a county, okay? So again, we just talked about the woman-owned small business. You do have the disabled veteran-owned small business for those who are veterans who own a business and would love to get a SBA disabled veteran-owned small business. They do have a certification for that. They can actually get 1% of the federal contracts that are out there, but they can also bid on all the others as well. But if there's a veteran set aside, then only the veteran businesses can bid on those, and it's high competition. The other thing too is that when your business is ready and you're ready to go to the next level, then you want to apply for the 8A. The 8A is a special bidding type of development program that allows a small business like yourself to have this program and have big prime contractors come in and be able to work with you to bid on the contracts. When a business gets so big as a prime contract, they cannot bid on smaller contracts. So what they do is they enter into a mentor protege program where you actually find the person or find the organization that would love to work with you. You become their protege. And it looks like I have somebody else in the waiting room. Okay, you become their protege. And then the 2 of you, being though you have the 8A, will allow the company to be able to bid on a contract and bring you in with them. Okay, now the advantage of this One, you become a subcontractor and you're getting experience. And then once you get experience, then you can bid on your own contract. Is everybody tracking? I think everybody's catching it, right? So that's usually how it goes. Well, and you only get this 8A for 9 years once in your entire business career. So you can't just turn this on as soon as you get it. If you turn it on, you better be ready to go. Okay, because a lot of big businesses are looking to partner with people who are 8A, but you have to make sure that you have something the government wants to sell. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, because you don't want to just say, I'm going to get a certification and try to get the government to buy. I think I'm going to do another webinar that's going to tell you where to go to find out what stuff are they really buying, right? How do you know what they're buying? You have the GSA schedule, you have some other resources you can go to find out what company is selling or wanting to buy what, right? So that way you can know who you want to go after, right? So again, just to kind of reiterate that AA, you do not want to turn it on until you are ready to get a mentor or another company to help be the prime contractor, you be the sub, right? You be the subcontractor, and then you get the experience, and then you go after the prime. And that's how you will sort of do it like that, okay? So we want to move on. Y'all seem happy. Okay, that's good. All right, so in order to be a self-certified woman-owned small business owner, right, for the SBA, the first thing you have to be is a small business that meet the SBA small business standard. On their website, they have all the information you can ever need about what that is. Most of the time, it is literally probably like less than $1 million or something like that. If you're a small business standard, they have different standards based on the number of employees you have. From being a sole proprietor to an LLC, they'll tell you what those levels are. You have to be at least 51% owned and controlled by a woman. So even if you have a business that's multiple women, one of the women in that group have to have 51% ownership and control of the business. And the reason why they want that, because they have to validate that it is a woman-owned business. And one woman out of everybody is actually sort of controlling the business. And that person has to manage the day-to-day operations. Now, one of the major changes that I noticed the other day is that they are recognizing women who have full-time jobs versus working business on the side. Before it used to be sort of, are you doing this 9 to 5 full-time? And then some people will say yes, but they now know that women can go to work full-time and then come home and still work full-time on their business. So they sort of changed that, that little narrative. And this application is really not difficult. You just need to be careful about how you're answering it, okay? Because you don't want to answer and then say no, and then you get rejected, right? Now, the other thing they have is an economically disadvantaged woman-owned business, which means you have to have further restrictions. And they look at your personal net worth, and they look at how much, let's say, houses you own, assets you own, in a 3-year period. And as long as you're not making more than $750,000 in the last 3 years, then you're considered economically, on top of the fact that you're a woman, economically disadvantaged. Okay, and so how does that make a difference? The only difference is that if they have set aside contracts specifically for EDWOSB, then you can actually compete for that and bid on that specific contract. So they do have some changes going on. Also, that you have, as you're going through this process, and what you will see through the SAM.gov, specifically through SAM, is that you're going to have to attest to Title 13, Part 127, Subpart B of the Code of Federal Regulations. These are FAR regulations that go anywhere from small business standards to foreign entity control to import-export, to anything that controls the operation of your business. And the reason why they want to know that, because when they award you this contract, they want to know exactly what type of business it is and where is the money potentially going to be going. Is it going to stay in the United States, or is it going to go outside the United States? And if it is, they're going to want to know who is also in control of that business. So there's a lot of stuff. They're going to actually give you hyperlinks. You got to click it, you got to acknowledge it. and it's a 2-hour process just to go through the SAMS account. So it's one of those things where there's certain things that you're going to have in place before you even do this, so that you have a workflow, okay? So this is mostly information. And you can, SBA also has a Am I Certified questionnaire as well, but don't be surprised, they're switching things up on the website as we speak, and I'm talking a little bit about that. So I think this duplicate slide. So yeah, again, so you would go to certify.sba.gov and you'll just answer those preliminary questions. And just to make sure that you apply, there's probably like 6 questions that they have there. But most of it is pretty straightforward. If you go through the economically disadvantaged, just be prepared to upload some documentation. Now, I don't know how many on here are already SBA certified, but if you are SBA certified right now, you may want to go out there and get your information. So here are the new changes. So SBA has a new beta program where they're actually sort of getting rid of the either or. So I have a woman-owned and I have an economically disadvantaged woman-owned, but they're going to get rid of one or the other. Either you qualify for one or you qualify for the other. So the way that they're doing it now is that if you have an existing certification, like I had to do, I had to go down there and download all the documents that I have ever submitted because they're going to go away. The document archive is going away. It's going to be one application that you will go through, and it will actually determine whether or not you are, if you say you're going for economically disadvantaged, it's going to go through and try to make it look like you can qualify, but if you answer certain questions, it's going to bring you back to the basic. So either you're going to get disadvantaged or you're going to just get the woman-owned. That I think that's one of the significant changes there, because they want to make sure that you are actually disadvantaged and you're not having like a double dipping. I think they kind of realize that once you're disadvantaged, you're still a woman-owned business. It wasn't really that much of a difference other than the just competing for the disadvantaged set-asides. And I think they're trying to streamline the process. Also, the documents that you use in the past can also be used to re-upload for the application. And there's a workflow. So they will actually group all the documents together. They didn't do that in the last application. You just pretty much just upload it. But now they're doing it. So they're saying 3 of this and 3 of that and 2 of this and 2 of that. And then you upload it in that same quadrant. So they're making it clear that you are uploading that document for that section. So those are some of the major changes, and they're still making changes to this beta application. So did anybody have any questions so far? You know, I went through a couple of slides. None, no questions? Okay. All right. So, so that's really pretty much for the SBA. So I'm going to talk about the MDOT now. So the MDOT MBE is for any minority, whether you're woman or man, it doesn't matter, any minority that have a business that would like to do business with the government. The Maryland Department of Transportation, they actually manage this whole entire process. You can get an MBE in almost every state. And once you have that MBE, it is good for 1 whole year. The only thing you have to do is just recertify at the end of the year. And then they also have a small business reserve program here in Maryland and e-marketplace. And I'm pretty sure that other states may have something similar to this. So you'll probably see something similar where your state has a special DBE program, but the Maryland Department of Transportation, or all of the Department of Transportation really, are the ones that manages these type of programs. So they have 4. So they have a minority business enterprise. Okay, I have somebody popping in here? Let's see. Okay, so I don't. Okay, so they have a minority business enterprise, which is just any minority that has a business. They also have the disadvantaged business enterprise, which is any minority who is disadvantaged. So you can actually have that as well. I have that. If you qualify for the disadvantaged business enterprise, you automatically get the minority business enterprise, and you automatically get the small business enterprise certification. So you get all 3. Okay, I have all 3 when I qualify for the disadvantage. So the same information that I use for my SBA, I use for my DBE. And I was able to get that. And they automatically added me to the small business reserve. And they also had me register into the e-marketplace, which is now Emma. Okay. And the airport concession is for those who have a business at the airport. So if you plan to have your business at the airport, a kiosk, clothing, whatever you want to do, there is an airport DBE program for those who want to work at the airport. And it's all done in one application. So there's not multiple applications you got to go through. You could just use one application, a universal one, and you just check off the certification that you want, and then you answer the questions. Okay. All right. Now we'll tell you that application is kind of lengthy, and you have to be very careful on the questions that they ask you. They're going to ask you repetitive questions. They're going to ask you questions that might trip you up. They might ask you questions where you thought you said one thing over here and there's something over there, and then you'll end up having a phone call or a committee meeting to explain yourself. So you got to make sure that you read the application thoroughly. I can't stress that enough. It is a long application already, and they do have a checklist where you have to give them certain pieces of information. Also, in addition to these certifications, specifically the DBE and the MBE, is that you are now eligible to apply county-wise. So you can go to your county and apply for a county-based certification, which means that you can get extra 15%. 15 points. I said 15%. You can get a 15 point advantage on a local contract. So if there's a contract out there for you, and you are look like somebody else is joining, and you are a county-based vendor for that county. For example, if Prince George's County here had a contract that fit me, because I live in Prince George's, I'm going to get a 15-point advantage because one, I'm disadvantaged. Number two, I'm a minority. Number three, I live in the county. So if somebody from outside the county tried to bid on the contract, I have 15 points ahead of that person. So that gives you extra advantage. And then you get to have, I think there's other incentives of being able to call certain companies or certain people and say, hey, do you have an open contract? And if nobody's bidding on it and it's an open contract, you might be able to get that through the Small Business Reserve. Small Business Reserve are contracts that are under $15,000 or $25,000 where they say you can call and say, hey, do you have any contracts? Or maybe there's one on the website and you can actually be the only bidder and you'll get it by default, or they'll just say, hey, send us your stuff. So, that is very rare, but they say it happens. So I would love to have that one day. I have not been able to land one yet. Also, county-wise, personal net worth. So your personal net worth is a form that you will be required to fill out. They actually give you the template when you get your DBE application on the website. And it will actually lay out your rent, your car note, your insurance, your cash, any income that's coming in, anything else that could be expenses, jewelry, any assets, and they look at your actual personal net worth to make sure that you are meeting the disadvantage qualification. When you go for the DBE, it also includes a personal interview or a phone call. It also involves uploading certain documentations that they're going to ask you for. And if you just send it in on time, you won't have a problem. If you have anything questionable on the application, they're going to put it to the side and they're going to say, well, we're going to have a special meeting and you're going to have to explain yourself. So, I stress that a lot because I went through the process and it took me 5 months to get my certification, my DBE, especially the disadvantaged one, right? You're also going to have access to the supplier and procurement web portal so that you can see all of the bids that are coming in for everything that they are looking to buy. This is going to help you gauge exactly what they're looking for, what companies are bidding, who your competition is, so that you can kind of like scope them out and say, hey, what do they offer that I'm not offering, so that you can tweak your responses. One of the things I will say is that your RFP should not be like cookie cutter. Your RFP is going to be different every single time that you bid because their RFP is different every single time. So you're going to be actually doing an RFP every time. Now, what I will say is that what you should do is maybe come up with a specific document, either your business plan, and if you don't have a business plan, you need to probably talk to me about how you can do that. But you should be having a business plan that you can pull information quickly from, okay? You need to have some sort of a media kit. You need to have all your products and services laid out. You need to have justification on how you're doing the service. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this myth right now, okay? When you become a government vendor, there are probably some contracts that you can start without resources. However, the RFPs that I've seen come through my eyes, looking at all the different ones, whether they fit my business profile or not, they are going to require you to prove that you can do this job, that you have the resources available to do this job. There is no, give me the contract, I'll go hire people. If you happen to get one like that, you're really, really lucky. But most of the RFPs I've seen, you have to show that you have 1 or 2 or 3 years of that specific skill, because that contract might be a year, it might be 5 years, it might be on, what they call it, training only, it might be on probation. You just never know, right? And then there's reporting requirements, and then there's other things that they require in that RFP. So it's very important that when you register in the procurement, if you acknowledge anything, they're going to be looking for you to bid. So that's the other thing I want to talk about in the portal. In the portal, they're going to show you a lot of bids. If you go into it and you acknowledge that you've seen it, they're going to be somewhat looking for you to bid. And then if you don't bid on it, they're going to be looking for you to say, I didn't bid on it because whatever reason, right? They putting it out there. And if you acknowledge it, they're trying to gather how many people are interested. What else I want to say about that? Oh, another thing I want to say too is that they are contracts that are out there for inquiry of information. So those are RFP contracts that come out where they just request information about your business. There is no guarantee that they're going to have a contract that, so, you just have to kind of decide if you want to waste the time giving them information for a contract that may or may not come. So just put that in the back of your mind too, because when you're seeing these things, you're like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. I think it fits me perfectly, but they're still really technically thinking about it, okay? And let's see, we're gonna talk about the next thing, which I think is really important. Okay, so here's an example of above here of MBE, DBE contracting goals. So as you can see that if in this example, this specific contractor or maybe government entity is saying, we have contracts in construction, and if you're a minority business enterprise, 21% of that money must go to a minority business, either through subcontracting or some other means. Same thing for professional services, 19%, non-professional 17%, goods and products 9%. So if I am a minority business and I get the contract, I have to hire another minority to do the construction, or I have to hire another minority to do the professional services. And these are the professional goals that has to be met for that specific contract. If they do not make this percentage, they lose the contract, or they lose the ability to get renewed on that contract. So this is why I always tell people, don't do anything under the table, because number one, you don't get counted as a true vendor when you do stuff under the table for another contractor. You want to do it the right way so that you are getting the credit, so that when it's time for you to bid as a prime contractor, you get the actual contract. If they don't know about you because you're getting paid under the table because they don't want to meet the goal, they're going to be in trouble and you're going to lose out. I actually had a client that actually got offered to be paid under the table, and he's literally leaving money on the table, really, if you think about it, right? So we want to make sure that you know that. Also, on the website, you want to download all the forms that they give you, whether you're going to use the forms or not. You want to definitely look at the checklist. The checklist is there to tell you everything you're going to need to do or acquire before you upload your information. You do not want to go there and start the application and then spend weeks trying to get the stuff. You want to actually collect the information that you're going to need before you do the application. And then the website has additional instructions and restrictions and other regulations that they want you to know about prior to applying. There is no cost to get any of these certifications that I'm talking about today. The only cost it will be for you is to just do a webinar like this, or if you would like to get me to help you walk through the process, then of course there will be a cost with them walking you through every application and making sure you do it right. But generally there is no cost to do these applications on your own. It will take several months to complete the process once you sit it in. And if you have an incomplete package, it will delay it a lot, okay? Say it again, follow the documentation checklist and be appropriate to your business structure. Make sure you're legalized, make sure you are in good standing, make sure your taxes are paid, make sure your annual property return has been paid and submitted so that you don't have any problems when they go to validate your business, okay, for the DBE. Okay, I want to stress that really, really good.
I have a question.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Terrence.
So for new startups with the MBE, is that possible? Because you said something about tax returns. So is it new startups unable to apply for MBE?
No, you can get it on your first year, actually. So you would do your first tax return and everything would be zero, right? Because you didn't make any money yet. Okay. So the certification is just to validate that you are minority and disadvantaged based on your personal net worth. Okay.
Okay. And then also the zip code, right?
They don't care about your zip code. They only want to know if personally, do you own assets over a certain amount?
Okay.
Over a certain period of time. They don't even look at your zip code or the neighborhood. They just want to know how much money have you earned versus how much money you earned on your business, and are you a minority? Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about how you're going to go about the process. I hope everybody taking notes because this is the process, okay? The first thing you want to do if you are not legalized and you're not, and I would just say to step back, if you're not sure how to do your startup, okay, I do have a 10-week startup course that will walk you through it, but you want to make sure you have everything aligned. You must be a legalized business to start this process. You have to have an EIN number that is going to outline your business and handle all your tax obligations. You need to file an article of incorporation and a trade name, which is known as a doing business as name. And you need to wait for approval. If you use the Business Express and pay the extra money, it will probably be ready for you within 24 hours, right? Or more, or a little bit more. You also want to protect your business name. A lot of people in Maryland do not know that each state or county has a local service mark and trademark application where you have your business name. You should be putting your $25 in to protect your name from fraudulent activity. Why? Because if you don't have enough money for the main USPTO website, you want to at least protect it on the local level. When you go to the USPTO website, and let's say someone else is using your name, you have first proof of when you started using your name to fight with, okay? If you do not have proof of first use, then you're gonna lose the fight and you won't have a national trademark, okay? So I just wanna put that out there. Look at your state. If you're not in Maryland, just go out there and look at your state and type in, that county courthouse or clerk house. I think the one here is like the city clerk that handles that here in Maryland. So it might be a little different in another state. The next thing you want to do is you want to have a valid business checking account. So you want to have a business checking account that has your business name on it with your proper signatures for all the owners who have access to that site, okay? You also want to make sure that you get your NAICS and SIC codes from the website. So you want to go to the U.S. Census Bureau and you want to find your NAICS code and your SIC code. Now, what are these codes? These are codes that identify you as a business in a particular industry, okay? All industries have a code. Some of them are lumped together in one code, and you can have more than one code and you can have more than one SIC code. You're going to need those numbers in order to do any of this stuff that we're talking about. They're going to ask you for that. Also, the government base their budget off of the SIC codes. And this is how they track monetary products that they buy and all of the different industries that they partner with. So you want to make sure you get that. So does anybody have questions about SIC codes?
I don't have a question about a SIC code, but I do have a question about something you touched on.
Yes, go ahead.
So in the steps in this process, it says confirm the business location. So when going to register at the Secretary of State, I registered my house, my home. Is that going to be an issue? Do I need to get a like a PO box or something else like that with this type of application, or can you still just use your regular home?
Well, that is a great question. At first, when you start up, you will be using your home address. You cannot use a PO box when you register your business. What I will say is that you can probably invest in a virtual office if you don't want to use your home address. I use my home address right now, and when I had my office before the pandemic, I actually switched to my office address, okay? So if you don't feel comfortable using your home address, you still have to register where your business actually is. But if you want to pay extra to change it to a virtual address and a virtual phone number, you can certainly do that with the state. And then when you do your application, you will put your original address, if it's still, especially if it's still in Maryland Express, if it still has your home address there, you would still have to put your home address, and then you would say, I'm operating at this other address on the application. And then
but I can't use
it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so anybody else have any questions about that? And if you don't want to speak, you can always put in a chat window, okay? All right, the second thing you want to do in this process, Ebony, did you have a question?
Before you, yes. Yeah, so I'm woman-owned certified and minority-owned business certified in the state of Wisconsin. Is it valuable for me to go ahead and then get certified also in those categories with the SBA?
I think you should, because if there are contract opportunities out there in your state that are set aside for women only, you definitely want to get that. You absolutely definitely want to get that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so here's the other thing too, and you're going to need this stuff I'm talking about too, Ebony, for this, for the SBA as well. So if you're going for the SBA, okay, or any of those, okay, you're going to need to make sure you have 3 years of financial records. Now, the reason why I say 3 years financial, if you don't happen to have 3 years, going back to Terrence's question, you can actually create a first year financial statement using your startup budget. So if you have a startup budget that outlined all of the costs that you use to start your business, you can actually put that in a financial statement, which is really a cash flow statement, okay? You can have that for your first year. If you've been in business for 2 or 3 years and they know that you've been in business based on your legalization paperwork, they're going to ask you for the last 3 years. So you can quickly do this by having a template. If anybody would love a sample of the template, just email me. I can share with you that the template is really simple. You're sort of just putting in the expenses that you spent for that year, and then you putting in how much money you made. And then of course it has like the calculations there, and it will give you your actual cash flow for that specific year. And then you can actually turn in 3 of those for each of the years. So you want to make sure you have that on hand in a PDF ready to go. You also want to make sure you have information about your banking information, savings, checking, insurance, any type of income that you have coming in. And this includes if you own other houses, other cars, other assets, have that stuff ready on hand, because they will ask you for that, because they're all calculating this up to that 750,000 in the last 3 years, okay? They're going to want 3 years of your personal income taxes and your business income taxes. So you want to make sure that if you're a first-time business owner, you want to make sure you fill out, or just say you haven't filed or something like that, or they may tell you to come back after you file your first one. And when you have your first one ready, even if it's all zeros, you didn't make any money that year, They just want to see that you filed your taxes, okay? So you want to have 3 years of that. They're also going to want to know the principal and the current mortgage of your home. So if you bought a home and you're living in it and you pay a mortgage, they're going to want to know that. And they're also going to want to know the value of your vehicle. What is it worth if you were to sell it today from the Kelley Blue Book? So I know y'all said this is like extreme. I don't know if I want to do all that. But again, you're trying to qualify for the economically disadvantaged, okay? So their application is going to assess where you are. So if you choose, you just want woman-owned small business, they're only going to give you questions for that. If you choose the economic disadvantage one, they're going to take you through all of the questions, plus they're going to want you to upload these additional pieces of information, okay? So does anybody have any questions about that part? Okay. All right. So, all right, now here is a general list of everything that I was just talking about. In addition to what I was talking about, they're going to want a copy of your article of incorporation. If you're an LLC, they're going to want your organization agreement from you and your partners. If you do not know what this is, you need to have one if you're an LLC. If you're a nonprofit, they're going to want a copy of your bylaws, okay? They want a copy of your driver's license to prove who you are. They want a copy of your birth certificate. And by the way, for the driver's license, birth certificates, personal net worth, banking, if you are a woman-owned business, 51%, and your husband is 49%, they're going to want your husband's information. Okay. And it's not that they're sort of like gauging your husband, they're counting all of the income sources. However, they're only going to be looking at the woman. Okay. But they do need to know all of the different income sources coming in, although they are only going to consider the 51% woman. Okay. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that. And that includes the resume, and retirement and banking information will be for you and your spouse. Does anybody have any questions about that? I know that sort of throws people for a loop sometimes. You good? Okay, all right, that's good. All right, so if anybody has questions later or want to put in a chat window, please do. Okay, all right. So this is just a snapshot of, I know you probably can't really see this, but the uniform application is about 7 to 8 pages. Long if you get the one from Maryland, you know, if you get the one from Maryland, that's what they're going to get. And then you also have the Office of Minority online portal, which will walk you through the process and have you upload those documents that we just talked about in their portal. The way their portal is designed is that when you create an account, it's going to give you a login so that you can come here and you can actually log into this portal. It'll ask you to fill out some of these things here, and then you can save your progress until you upload all of the needed documents in this portal. It'll also give you other documents if necessary to finish the process. And then once you submit it, then the application is closed. You can't do anything else unless they send it back to you and say, hey, I need additional information. And they will actually send it back to you and allow you to go back in and re-upload additional documents. And then once you have all of that in there, then they will lock it, and then they will let you know what the process is. So it's really sort of, I wouldn't say simple, but this is sort of cut and dry how this will go. Okay. Now, after you finish and actually get approved for your DBE, you want to start looking while you're waiting for them to go through it. I mean, you want to go through and start looking at different counties and different programs. So these are a list of some of the programs that are out there for SBA and DBE. So you can actually go there. I actually have the Washington Metro Authority here, Metro. So I'm actually a DBE or Metro there. You can also look at the Maryland schools. They also have a procurement program. You can look at some of the suppliers. You can go to all the different counties, Department of Veteran Affairs. All of these major government organizations have procurement offices where you can sign up to get alerts, that you can actually let them know that you are SBA or DBE certified vendor. And you can actually go in there and see for yourself what it is that they are looking to buy. And there's hundreds of them, right? So I only put a few here, but you can definitely check it out and see what you come up with that best fits you. You want to go for the organizations that align with your business. That's one of the keys. You don't want to start just going for Metro because it's Metro. You want to make sure that Metro aligns with what you are providing them in the government, okay? Because if you're not providing what they want, they're not going to buy and you won't see any contracts, okay? Now, what are the pros and cons of certification? When you're a certified person, you get to bid on multiple contracts all the time, and you can do it on any amount. Doesn't matter what contract it is, you can just bid on it. You'll also be known in the industry as a government vendor who wins contracts. So as you are going in the system and you are winning contracts, you will have your name circulated around. And a lot of times, some of these contracts are done internally without even being promoted or out there. So you need to make sure that you're make sure you get the actual contracts you need to get so you can start building a credible reputation. Okay. You also can get mentoring with other businesses. So as you are building relationships through the contracting process, you are getting to know all the decision makers of the other prime contractors. In addition to that, they have tons and tons and tons all the time, MBE, DBE, certified, events where they are the prime contractors are inviting you to come to their event so you can actually meet them in person. You can talk to them. You can have a relationship with the buyer or the decision maker, and you can, sort of get in contracting that way. Because again, some of these opportunities are they're not even exposed or promoted sometimes. So if they're not in Emma and people are getting contracts, it's because there's wheeling and dealing going on and people are getting contracts other ways. The cons is that if you try to get this certification and you have not aligned yourself with government, there may not even be any contracts available, or the service that you offer is not something that they're looking for, or maybe there's just too many competitors. I bid it on a contract that was a business contract, and it was about 50 people trying to bid for that one contract. After that, someone won it. It was a really hard competition. It goes like that sometimes. And then there was months where I didn't see anything that aligned with what I do, right? Some of these contracts have limitations, some of them require that you get funding from other sources in order for them to fund you. Some of them want you to have resources. As I mentioned earlier, they want you to make sure that you have the resources to do the contract. Some of them require that you have at least 3 months of salary off to the side so that it takes almost 3 months for you to get your first paycheck. So you have to float your business for a while before you can get paid. They have the 15, 30, 45, and 90-day type pay cycles. So you have to make sure that you're able to pay your staff. If they told you to start the contract tomorrow, can you actually pay your staff up to 3 months, right? And also some of the contracts require that you send in reports. Now they could be weekly reports, quarterly reports, yearly reports, depending on the contract. That's a lot of work to kind of keep up with all the different things that they want you to report on. So those are some of the cons that you're going to get in terms of certification. Now, how can you do this? Again, I am here to help you. That's what we do. Basically, if anyone is interested in taking this course, I will walk you through the complete application, meaning we will go through each application, each step to make sure that you have everything in there, that there's no problems with the application, teach you how to do it in order so that you're not putting the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart, as they say. And you want to make sure you're reducing mistakes because you don't want to have to go back and have to try to justify or re-upload. You want to make sure you get it the first time. And then also at the end of the whole application process to understand the RFP process. When you get the RFP, how do you read it? How do you understand the requirements? How do you understand how to apply? All of those things you need to know so that you can be successful in winning a government contract. And if anybody has any questions, I do want to let everybody know that I will be back here on Thursday at 7 o'clock talking about small managing work-life balance. And if anybody's interested to see last month's webinar, we talked about 7 steps to creating a virtual business and knowing your niche and things like that. And you're welcome to join our private Facebook group so that you can get notifications for webinars like this or other events that we're having. Please make sure you join our online membership. But as far as the SBA concerned, it really is something that I found that helped me. It helped me get a state contract with the Montgomery County Opportunity Commission. It has literally changed the way my business operates. It's put me on another level, and I wouldn't have been able to get that opportunity if I had not spent and did the investment in my business. It does take some time and some dedication to sit there and go through the application painstakingly sometimes to get the information that you need for it, but it's going to be a win-win, especially if you're in health or you're providing some sort of labor service to the government. It is worth getting a certification. It's definitely worth getting a certification. So I'm open for any questions. I'm open for anything that people would like to talk about in terms of, the certification process. Or if someone is interested in having a private call because you want to not have your question here on the webinar that's recorded, you can definitely call my number above right here. You can reach out to me and schedule an appointment just to talk to me about your situation and what you're trying to do. And I'm always offering free mentoring advice for anybody who is interested in that.
Hello, this is Pamela Dobbins. I was eating, that's why I got off camera. But anyway, no, I wanted to say I am in Alabama.
All right.
And I recently acquired the application and everything. And when I saw this webinar, I was like, okay, I just wanted to at least listen in. But I actually have someone that I'm in a group with. I don't know for how many years has been already doing this with his company. And so he has offered to mentor me through the application process, because I just got my application about a week or 2 ago. But the person who is over that at the Birmingham International Airport here in Alabama, she obviously was the one that, sent me everything. And she's also offered to help me.
That's wonderful.
And I must say, when I looked through the application, I was more than overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, all of this. But he, like I said, he has offered to help, just kind of walk me through everything. I did see a lot of similarities, but I do know that things vary from state to state. And I did just sent a thing to join the Facebook group.
Yeah, well, thank you for your comment. I'm so happy that you are taking that next step to do the certification, that you have somebody who's going to walk you through the process. That's really the most important thing, that somebody is really knowledgeable about how to do that application. And again, even with that, just read the question very, very carefully, compare one section to another, make sure all your numbers align, make sure all your paperwork is aligned. I can't stress that enough. They do ask for a lot of repetitive information, mostly just to make sure that what you said in section 1 matches section 2 and section 3. And they want to make certain that you are actually disadvantaged. So just be very careful, make sure you have all your paperwork ready to go. And I congratulate you on that. And I did put you in the Facebook group. I saw that.
Oh, thank you. The other thing, well, I guess, I don't know if I'm not gonna say I don't know if my business is not eligible. I have a cookie processing facility. In other words,
nice.
And I didn't just start. I started it as a home-based business back in 2017. I did, I don't know if y'all have cottage food law up there as well, like for home bakers, people that want to bake, but they don't have like a commercial kitchen, but they still want to sell their products and stuff like that. The public health department doesn't have to come in and inspect and all that, but you do have to take the class and get certified. So that's how I started my business. And I started it back in 2017. But my husband is a tax preparer. And when COVID hit last year, he just shut his business down, like not taking clients, but he just closed it to the public because he was having like a lot of like inconsiderate clients coming in and, you know, not wearing masks and coughing all over the place. He's just like, okay, we just need to like, you know, rethink this whole thing. So basically when tax season started this year, we swapped places because he kept saying, I need you to get up out the house because you in this kitchen making it look like a hurricane had been through here, you know, because I would bake and then sell my goods at the local farmer's market the next day. So anyway, he was like, do you want my space? I was like, I sure do, you know. And so we literally swapped places. So he has our dining room area now with a drop box out on the front porch so he won't make physical contact with the clients. So I actually got a grant from the Local Initiative Support Corporation out of New York. I got on the internet last February or January, I don't know, but I was just like, I need some money. I need some money to start my business. And so I ended up getting awarded a $10,000 grant. That was a start. And so I was able to get some renovations done and, you know, just get everything up and running. So I literally launched this January because it took like, it was a slow process to get all my stuff in alignment. But I launched in January with an online store. I do sell to stores, local grocery stores. So I wholesale and I retail and I sell online. And so my next venture, because basically I'm trying to squeeze all the juice out the orange that I can. So I'm using one product and I want to go in 5, 6, 7 directions if I can. But how I came with this whole process, I want to vend. I want to have some vending machines. And where is the best place to have for foot traffic? I think one of the places at the airport.
At the airport and government office. Yeah,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So that's my matriculation or transition from just having a cookie processing facility to sitting up here in this webinar because I just need some information and I'm trying to just, you know, take it to the next level. But
That's it. And you're doing such a great job. And you basically just proved my point on how you can scale your business. You went from baking in your home to now trying to, you know, getting your stuff together to now looking at how you can get in the airport and government. And that is scaling. That is what scaling means. To move to the next level, to do something bigger than what you did last year. And first of all, let me just applaud you again. And I hope everybody's applauding too, that it is hard just to get that much, right? And you're doing it. And I want to encourage you to keep going and to keep doing it. And I'm glad you came to the webinar to get this information because that's why I do it. That's why I put it out there for you can take it and grow with it. Girl, you got something going on.
Well, I'm trying. I've already talked to my landlord for the place that I'm in right now because I'm in a brick and mortar, but I don't have a storefront, which that was by design. But I keep having a lot of people like literally knocking on my window saying, I want to buy some cookies. So I'm going to put a vending machine right outside. And so that's going to be my start. So that's going to be my start, but doing the—
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for
You're welcome. So, so Joseph, I see you're on here. Are you still chugging along to want to work for the government? I think Joseph is there.
I'm here. I had to unmute.
Yeah. Are you still chugging to try to work for the government too?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All righty. What moves have you made since the last time we talked?
In that aspect, 0.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to get back on it. We want to make sure you can get behind. Terrence, are you still working towards that government that we talked about also in class?
Yeah, so I just got a new startup. Well, not really new, but I'm gonna start it up. I got Q3 Logistics, a trucking company. Trying to get this box truck lane under wraps. So I know that the disenfranchised, and the DBE could potentially yield me some good earnings locally and through the government. So I need to get on that. That's what I'm trying to do right now.
Okay. All right. What about you, Paula? What is your ambition towards working with the government? I think Paula might have stepped away. All right. What about you,
I'm
Ebony?
actually here. I'm
Oh, there
sorry.
she
I
is.
have a class going on. I have a brand, Brown Ballerina. So I teach classical ballet to young brown and Black girls. And so I am looking to just learn how to get certified like I did today as a small Black woman-owned business, minority-owned business. And yeah, and seeing how I can partner with the government with some of these ideas, bringing in, classical ballet and health to some women or their kids, or, I'm really trying to learn and actually pivot and build my business. So
That is wonderful. I mean, I can see if you go on that route, I can see you working with some of the government institutions that has anything to do with the arts at all. Like maybe have a contract to do an event or to host a show or something like that. If you align yourself with some of the government organizations that deal with the arts. Absolutely. You could definitely do that.
good. All right, good. Yes. So that's where I am. Thank you for
Awesome.
that.
You're
That was
welcome.
really helpful. It's
Okay,
something-
what about you, Ebony? Did you have any thoughts about any of the information shared here that can help you?
Yes. It was really helpful. With what I do, so my company does event design, event production, and then we also do custom gifts and custom decor. And with COVID, it's really kind of a downtime for me because a lot of that is restricted except for the custom requests. And so my goal is really to just connect with the government on as many different levels as I can and get access to those requisitions. So as soon as they do start opening back doors, I already have a foot in the door.
Yeah, you really need to get your certification so you can take advantage of construction opportunities, because after they finish construction, they're going to need interior designing and decor. They're going to need to, like right now, we're having like a whole building 64 bed, like low income housing over here in Maryland. And once they finish doing everything up, they're going to have to dress it up. They're going to have some of these models. Like you can get so many opportunities just going into the construction field.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah, that's an opportunity for you right there. And just having that DBE will allow you to bid on those program goals that I told you about.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, what about you, Nicole?
Hey, Ann. What
Hey.
I'll do is I'll go back and look at the SBA.
Okay.
I'll start there first and work my way back into the certifications.
Okay. All righty. So everybody, welcome Malcolm Young. He's actually a recent graduate of the class. I know that he is going to be looking into getting into transportation. Isn't that right? With the government?
Yes, ma'am, it is. I'm just tuning in.
He's tuning in to get the info. Yeah, but I really appreciate everybody joining and sharing their background. I'm so happy that you guys have a way forward, or, a pathway to get to what you need to do. And again, just make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. Make sure you really get someone who is knowledgeable. If you can't find someone, I'm available out here so that you have a resource. And please make sure that you join the online membership so that you can get access to other recordings. Also join the free Facebook group as well, so that you guys can also get that and share topics. If you have questions, you can post that in the group, or you can send me an email if you have questions. Just let me know. I'm here to help you. And I want to give everybody back the rest of that evening, but I do want to thank everyone for participating in the roundtable this month.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you.
Pamela, you say something, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was saying thank you. I really, really enjoyed it. Yes. Mhm.
I
Very
like it.
Awesome.
knowledgeable, very knowledgeable.
Well, thank you so very much.